we truly understand what each other is saying, so that, you have this bucket, and it's like you have all of this stuff going on. It's filling up this bucket, and it's filling up this bucket to the point where it overflows, and then everything explodes, right? There's
Right.
no easy release to it. And really what we're talking about is mentorship or conversations or sports psychologists, whoever it is, just helping you empty that bucket one piece at a time, over time, so that you're able to deal with it. You have this mental fortitude, you have this strength because you're developed.
I made it through the rough time. I made it through the tough time. I made it through the bad time. So now I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Okay. One day we gon' get on. Talk to 'em. You ain't got a choice.
Welcome to Bailey and Buck Unplugged, where we talk about sports, entertainment, and mental health in support of the Kennedy Kids Foundation. If you're struggling with mental health, we encourage you to speak up and get help. A great place to start is 988. That's the free crisis prevention lifeline. Or you can check out the resources tab at kennedykids.org. If you are in an absolute emergency, please dial 911. Either way, we want you to know that you are not alone and that you don't have to struggle, and speak up, get help. There are resources available to you, and we are here to support you. If you're new around here, I want to introduce you to our host. I am Misty Buck. I am an author and a mental health and performance coach. And my co-hosts are Robert Bailey. He is the president of Rosenhaus Sports, the president of Kennedy Kids Foundation. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time college national champion. He's an NFL record holder, and he's an ESPY winner. And we are also joined by Bailey Brooks Masburn. She is a celebrity wedding and event planner, a former NFL cheerleader, and the executive director of the Kennedy Kids Foundation.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Bailey and Buck Unplugged. We are super excited today to welcome Miami Dolphins fullback Alec Ingold. He is amazing. I can't wait for you guys to hear what he has to say on this episode. He also happens to be the founder of the Ingold Foundation, which he is going to tell us all about today. And he is the author of this best-selling book, The 7 Crucibles. I highly, highly recommend this. Not just because he's a guest on the show, because it actually is a really good book. So, Alec, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time today.
Oh, I appreciate it, Misty. I'm excited to talk through everything, all things life, sports. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to you. It's not every day that we get to talk to a 3-time Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee and all the other amazing things that you've done. But I'm not going to get too crazy about that. We're going to dive into that and hear all about you. But I just had to throw that in there because I think that's like the coolest thing ever. So our first question, Alec, normally we ask all our guests to tell us about when they first started to realize in their life, for either themselves or maybe it was with a loved one, what mental health was and really what that meaning was to them. But I want to preface this question because there's this part in the preface of your book that I think is amazing. You write, people often think they must confront the darkness on their own. That's absolutely not true. It's a process that nobody should do alone, nor should you want to, especially if you have people and tools in your corner to help you. I love that. And that tells me that you have quite a story to tell. So why don't you kick us off and tell us all about your journey and what mental wellness means to you.
Yeah, Missy, that's a great question. I think one of the first times it truly hit deep was heading into college. You have that onboarding, that summer, I don't know what the word is, like I don't want to say initiation, but you show up, you sign up for your classes, you're meeting everybody. There was this really
freshman year?
This is freshman year. Yeah, freshman
Okay.
summer.
Like orientation.
Orientation, that's the word, Missy. Yeah,
Orientation,
there it
yeah.
is. And there's this really cool group that they kind of did this artistic kind of presentation. We're in this big room and they're talking about just where we're all at in life. This is 2015 at the time, and everyone's kind of feeling isolated with their cell phones, and they're talking about life, about our self-development as human beings, and we feel like we're on islands a lot of the time when we're trying to develop. You're building up this house that you want to build up, and man, they really talked about building bridges in life and connecting with other people to your true, genuine self versus just worrying about your own island. And you can have that hammer and that nail. You can be working as hard as you can on that island, but until you start building bridges with the people around you, start connecting, sharing ideas, starting to grow, with this community. I felt like that really hit me deep at 18 years old. I started to kind of develop that frontal cortex a little bit. I started figuring out what it means to be a human being and be myself and walk in my own shoes and building bridges. I think that metaphor really helped develop into that mental wellness space, not having to do things on your own, and really diving into that journey, walking into college once you left the household. So that was really my first exposure to it. And ever since then, I've been nerding out on mental wellness and that journey ever since.
I think that's super cool
Wow.
because I don't think every 18-year-old is going to hear that and be receptive of that and interpret it the way that you did, right? Because we hear lots of things growing up and we're kind of like many, I think like most of us, right? We're like, yeah, yeah, okay. Like at that age. Like,
Well, I mean, you think about it, they'll ask you a question. We're all sitting there, we're all thinking about something, but no one wants to say it, right? You don't have the courage to raise your hand and talk in front of a bunch of people. And that was the first moment where like, I put my hand up, like I know the answer. And we started having this conversation. And it was like, man, we are really isolated. Like no one wants to talk. No one wants to share their thoughts or opinions. And it's all that fear of being wrong or fear of being judged or fear of opinions. So I thought it was really cool and it dove deep. And yeah, I think we're all on our journeys, man, wherever you start. And I think that was the first point for me.
That's interesting. I want to just jump in. That's interesting because, you at the time you were on the football team,
Hmm.
right? So unlike a lot of the other students that are 24/7 kind of by themselves their freshman year, haven't really met friends, right? They may have a roommate they don't know, stranger. You came in to a situation where really you had already been with the team. I'm assuming you already had practice and you had met the guys. You know what I mean? So to me, that's interesting that you felt that way, even though you had that family unit behind you, with the coaches and all that. I'm thinking about how students felt that don't have that kind of background, don't have that family unit support that you had. It's interesting that you had
Yeah.
that.
100%. And we talk about propinquity a lot in the locker room. That's like where you're located and how you are around certain people. Your relationship in space to other people in the locker room is like the epitome of what life should be, right? All people from different backgrounds coming together for one mission. That propinquity, that room can generate a lot of power. You can bring people together because of all your differences aligning on one mission. So, football that's where I fell in love with the game is it's the locker room, it's the practice field, it's the weight room, it's the personalities, it's the characters. Like, yes, we love playing on Sundays, and that's amazing. But to be a part of a room from all different backgrounds to come together for one mission, I
Right.
hope that everybody finds community like that. We can find it anywhere in work, at the country club, wherever we're at. But the locker room is a great place for me that I found that love.
Right.
and I feel like you really mastered this through from what you've talked about in your book, right? You talked about going through that injury when you were on the Raiders and then realizing I have to help build up the guys that are now playing when I can't play, right? And you made that decision. Like I'm going to build up these other players instead of being threatened that I'm injured and they're going to end up taking my roster spot, right? Like you really leaned into that. And I think it seems to me you probably lean into that also in the Ingold Foundation. Like that's a really big piece of that is building others up and building that community. So I just think that's really amazing because I don't think everybody necessarily takes the time to kind of step back and think in that way, especially when you're in a place that's so it could be very cutthroat, like,
Yeah, Missy, that's our ego, right? Like that's our ego talking where you want to protect your turf and it's dog eat
yeah.
dog and it's I win, you lose. And a rising tide lifts all ships. So like if you can invest in those people around you, not be afraid of competition, not be afraid of change, I feel like that internal confidence and courage can shine through in so many different ways. And whether you have this result oriented mindset of like, there's only a finite amount of resources and a finite amount of plays and a finite amount of wins that we can have on a field, I feel like we're shortchanging ourselves and our teams. So it's tough and it's a different journey. But man, I think once you once you realize your ego's talking and that fear is real, and you can kind of address it, write it down maybe, and then take that step back, like you're saying, Misty. I think that's a huge perspective shift that I had in my life, and silver linings for sure in that injury.
How do you know when your ego's talking?
I think I think it talks and you don't really notice it. So, that's a good question. I think you have to have different moments where you frame your days. For me, it's like a steam room in the morning, and whether it's prayer or connecting to something bigger than yourself. I don't know what everyone believes in. I'm a religious believer myself, and being able to pray or frame my days in the morning kind of helps. Okay, these are my thoughts. These are my intrusive thoughts. I can't really control them, but I can control my thought after the thought. How do I respond to the self-talk in my head? And that's how I frame my day. So maybe I feel like trash. Like, okay, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to respond to it? So I think it's a constant skill that you need to develop, and finding routines in your day or moments or touch points where you're responding to that self-talk intentionally. I think
Right.
that helps you kind of control that ego a little bit.
So have kind of like that mindful self-reflection, sort of like building that into your daily routine. Like, hey, I got to check in with myself.
And it doesn't have to be long, right? We can find it at breakfast. We can find it on the way to work and where we're driving. There's power of everyday things that we all do. And if we're intentional about it on the front end, be like, all right, every 5 minutes, I'm going to show up 5 minutes early and I'm going to sit in the parking lot and I'm going to think, or I'm going to check in with myself. Like, it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out thing. Throughout the day, I feel like those little micro check-ins can help make sure that we're framing our days the right way and we're walking in our best selves, so we don't let bad 5 minutes turn into a bad day or a bad week, right? We can kind of nip it in the butt right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to imagine that translates onto the field as well, right? Like just
Next play mentality.
next
Yeah.
play mentality.
I get
Yeah.
I get run over by a linebacker. Nobody cares. Like, I'll pick myself up and
You
we got
care.
another play
You,
call
de-
rolling
you
in,
definitely
man.
care.
Oh, I care. Yeah. I
Yeah.
might clap my hands. I might hit a little reset button, but the next play is coming in. We ain't got time to feel sorry for ourselves.
Alec, being in this space, you talking about football, being in this space that you're in with your foundation and mental health with kids and the youth. Um, how do you look at the way the NFL's programs to help the guys with their mental health? Like, um, what are your thoughts on all of the resources that they have for you guys? Do you think, is there any ideas that you may have that you think would make it be better, or you think it's great? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's been a process for sure. Like, there's licensed sports psychologists in every single building across the NFL now. And like, that's a
Right.
huge accessibility step.
Yeah. I didn't have any of that when I was in the NFL.
And just having that ability or the access to go see somebody and know that it's private, like, that's huge, right? But I
Right.
think the next step, and it'll take time, like, it's not like a simple solution, but understanding that it's kind of on you. It's your responsibility to take your mental health journey however you need it. Some people might need sports psychologists. Some people may just need a mentor. Some people just need teammates. Some people just need family. Like, whatever you need, that's kind of on you. That's your responsibility. Now, an organization or the institution of the NFL, they can have these accessible touch points so you can start that journey. But it really is a perspective flip on us as the athletes to take ownership of our own journeys and figure out what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah. I love that you share that. I'm speaking
Yeah.
with a group of high school student athletes for the Florida High School Athletic Association coming up. And one of the things that they're interested in is mentorship. And I think I love that you touched on that. And I know you work with a lot of teens and children. And I think it's so important because sometimes we think of mentorship or therapy as like these really big things when it can be, I think it can be pretty simple. Like, it's just a matter of finding somebody that you're comfortable with and just simply asking them, hey, can I check in with you every once in a while? Or, hey, how did you handle this? Because I think probably 100% of the time they're going to say yes and be willing to answer that question. So, what is your advice? We have all people of adults, we have teens listening to this on how to go about finding what's right for you.
That's a great question. So in college, I was always afraid of the eighth floor. Our facility, the eighth floor is where all the coaches were. And it was an open door policy, like, come in, talk, chop it up. And the first 3 years, like, I did not go up there at all because I'm afraid if I have a question, I look stupid, like, that's going to be an issue. And all of a sudden, my senior year, I start going up there. I start just having conversations. I start learning. I start asking questions. It's like, dang, people really do want to help you out. People do want to have these answers and have conversations. So we have a shared understanding. We're speaking the same language. So just opening that door, or as a mentor, letting people know your door is open. I think that's huge, right? Those conversations, a simple conversation or a question, can lead into a great relationship. And that's where we all have these shared moments that we kind of experience together, and being able to speak the same language. It takes time, but really understanding what we're telling each other, and how we're listening to one another. That's the biggest thing. So open door policies as mentors is huge. And then if you're looking for a mentor, just walking through that door, having that conversation, not being afraid of asking a stupid question. I think that's the first step, and it's the scariest one. It was really scary for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you're a teen or an adult, right? Like even for me, I'm 44, and there are people that I would be like nervous to be like, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" You know, like I think that gets to
Misty, I'll be your mentor, Misty.
you'll
I'll
be
be
my
your
Oh, there
mentor.
we go.
Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. Done.
Yeah. I think, like, as Misty makes a great point though, a lot of us humans, there's this stigma about mental health and reaching out, right? Because for many years they didn't use the word, they didn't, identify as mental health. They just would say that person's crazy,
Mm.
right? So, and that was for many years before your time. It just mental health just really started that mental health. That's really started maybe, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But before that, it was he's crazy, she's crazy, they deserve, they need to be in the loony house, whatever you call it. And so people didn't reach out for help because of that stigma. So, that's one of the reasons why I think at every level there needs to be mental health programs, and those mental health programs need to be extremely active in terms of reaching out to students, athletes. I think I remember playing and watching guys after a bad game cry in the locker room, cry on the way home. I'm driving my teammate home, and he's crying, and at that moment, now that I look back, I'm saying to myself, these guys are all having mental issues at that moment. And I think like the NFL and sports, like they need to identify different people that are going through different things, and make sure that they come meet with them and have a conversation just to make sure that that person's okay, or else it can manifest itself in another way. It could be 10 years later, right?
Mm.
So I just think a lot of the different levels need to be more proactive in terms of reaching out to these athletes and students.
Yeah, 100%. I think of those emotional, like those things that bubble up over the surface, and it's like, that's why I think it's so important to speak the same language. What I mean by that is like we truly understand what each other is saying, so that you have this bucket, and it's like you have all of this stuff going on. It's filling up this bucket, and it's filling up this bucket to the point where it overflows, and then everything explodes. Right? There's
Right.
no easy release to it. And really, what we're talking about is mentorship or conversations, or sports psychologist, whoever it is, just helping you empty that bucket one piece at a time, over time, so that you're able to deal with it. You have this mental fortitude, you have this strength, because you're developing it, because it's a skill, because you're putting in the time to be able to actively improve upon the stress and the circumstances that you have to overcome, or you have to endure, or you have to thrive through. If we're not emptying that bucket on a consistent basis, man, you can't be your best self.
Right. 100%. 100%. And I'm telling you, even today, many, many people in our society aren't emptying the bucket.
Yeah.
They are holding on to a lot of different things that eventually end up affecting the people around them. It affects them. And then it creates this whole family chain that goes on for, you know, many decades of different family members, and it just until someone finally breaks it, right? And goes and gets help, and then doesn't teach that to
Mhm.
their kids. And so you make a great point.
It's uncomfortable to empty the bucket, right?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. But I'll choose that discomfort over the discomfort of regret, or exploding,
Right.
or not being able to control my emotions because I didn't address it beyond,
Yeah.
those points.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know,
mean, to your point is, would you rather have the temporary discomfort of saying and
right.
emptying the bucket, or would you rather have long-term discomfort that's going to come from not doing that? Like,
Mm.
which
Right.
do you want?
Right.
I'm just thinking, Alec, it's well documented, about the foster care system and what you have been through in your past. How do you think um, this the foster care kids, right? People that have been through this. I'm sure mental health is a huge, huge topic. I don't know how much it's talked about. I'm not in that. I've never been in that system. What are your thoughts on that? And is there something that you think needs to be changed to help those kids with their mental health?
Yeah, that's a great point. I've been able to speak to a number of different professionals. They talk about core traumas with youth that are in foster care, and it manifests itself in a fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, um, things that are
Right.
out of their control. And then you talk about stigmas. A lot of times when you go to a group home or somebody says they're adopted or somebody's in the foster care system, you think something's wrong with that kid. It's like,
Right.
no, it's not anything to do with them, right? It's just the circumstances they're brought up in. So addressing those core traumas or having professionals that are able to communicate and address those core traumas. So those kids feel heard and seen and believed in. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. Think about the number of houses that they're moving to on a regular basis. Think about seeing kids throw their stuff into garbage bags because it's easier to move from one place to another. Like the amount of little things that become big things that they're walking through on a daily basis is so hard. And caretakers and those people in the system are so powerful. They're the angels of this world. And I know there's a lot of good groups now working on the mental health side of things for those that are going through it, but also on the
Right.
front end, family services, making sure that those kids and families can stay together before that happens, right? So it's not just, hey, you're in the system, we need to work and address these problems. Like, okay, what's the root of that? How do we make sure families are staying together? How do we make sure that they're accessing the grants and the financial aid that might need to happen in order for those families to stay together before they get ripped apart? So there's a lot of different groups doing a lot of different things. And I think it's a two side of the same coin, being able to help those youth currently in there, but also helping families before things get to that point.
How's
Yeah.
the Ingold?
Thank you, Philip.
How's the Ingold Family Foundation? What are you guys doing in terms of mental health? Through your foundation, how are you making an impact?
So first off, I think we advocate for a lot of those professionals, those groups that are doing great work every single day. I think that's a huge thing. There are organizations in our state, in our community that have been working for decades and doing a great job at that when it comes to high school graduation percentages, making sure kids aren't ending up aging out of the system, becoming homeless, broke within 3 or 4 years of aging out of the system. So advocating for them is a huge piece. And then we also love to do our mindset panels, work on mental health and creating real conversations and connection, talk about building bridges in those rooms, being able to share my personal story, our family story with those kids, one kid at a time. I think that's huge. And then it's the fun stuff too, allowing kids to be kids, whether it's a football camp, whether it's swagging them out with shoes, getting them
Right.
duffel bags that they have pride in and courage in, and it has their name on it. And they're walking to school with that, especially during Christmas. In the holidays, you think about all the kids sitting at a school table talking about what they got. And we got some kids in the group home that show up with some sweet shoes saying like, I got some
Right.
of these, right? It's those little things, haircuts before you go back to school. The little things become the big things and having confidence and courage to be yourself and truly own that.
That's awesome, man. That's
We
awesome.
we do a number of things, man. We trying our best out here.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit how you started the foundation.
Yeah. So my journey in the NFL, like growing up in Green Bay, I always saw those NFL players as like superheroes. Growing up, late
Right.
'90s, early 2000s, like
Right.
man,
Riding
those
the bikes. Riding the
right.
bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to be up there and have somebody riding my bike every single summer. They're the only guys that looked like me, talked like me up in that area. And I knew if I ever made it, I wanted to be an ambassador in the community just the way I saw those guys going to the grocery stores or coming to our schools and talking. So I started by just volunteering. Like anything you ask me to do, I'm out there. NFL is not for long. I don't know how undrafted cat, like I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but I'm gonna make a difference while I'm here. So I was trying different lanes, whatever I could volunteer in. And then I obviously had that ACL injury, had a little bit more time and kind of figured out like, okay, maybe if I'm vulnerable, my story, my truth, how I got to the league, maybe I can connect to other people that are walking that same path. So that's where we founded the foundation, um, late 2021, early 22, and we've been running it ever since. So it's been fun to see it grow for the past few years.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
it takes a special person to step up and step out of their comfort. And I want you to know that, man, that you're a guy that been through a tremendous journey, and to be where you are, there's a lot of different paths, right? That you could go on, and there are a lot of different excuses you could use, and you decided not to take advantage of your situation and your journey and use that as an excuse. But what you did was you used it for to give back to the community, that you could have easily said, hey, because of this, you guys, robbed me, the system, I didn't listen. But you didn't do that. You decided to turn around and help people that are going down the same journey you're going that you went down, and I applaud you for that, man. I applaud you.
I appreciate that. I think that's why we're all here, right? To share our journeys.
Yeah,
There's a million ways to skin a cat, but man, if we can help that next generation by any lessons that we learned along the way, man, that's why we're all here.
yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want to shift for a moment to, in keeping with also this the mental health theme here, and to your book, because you took a really unique approach to the writing this. You wrote your 7 crucibles, which you mentioned there are really way more, but somehow you narrowed it down to 7.
yeah.
And you focused really though on adversity throughout your book. So I don't know a single person in my life who's not dealing with some sort of adversity. I think we all pretty much feel the same way, right? So talk us through some ways that maybe you talk about them in the book, or maybe you've had some revelations since you've written the book, about how to approach adversity and how to do it with the clarity of mind and mindfulness that you are able to continue to bring day in and day out.
Life is so ironic. Like, how many times do we have to go through a hard challenge in life and then look back and be like, man, that was the best thing for me. Like, if I only knew at the front end, like this was going to teach me all these lessons, you never know that going into it. So, kind of being proactive with that kind of irony of life and how it kind of teaches you things. I think that's where adversity being an opportunity was real. I think it's one of our team rules, and it's something that I live by every single day. So, yeah, I think you read a lot of books about self help and personal development, mental wellness, and I just wanted to be real with how I was going through life at that time. It was raw, real emotion from the training table, and like questioning everything about my profession and who I am and my identity and my purpose, and being able to kind of come out of that with a clearer mindset. This book helped me journal and stay accountable to it. But yeah, I think adversity is life's best teacher, man. And if we can make friends with that, I think we'll all be in a better place. It's challenges are always going to be there. Adversity is always going to be there. It's one of the certainties in life. So if we can enjoy it and kind of walk through it with a smile on our face, with love in our heart, like, man, how much better are we going to be as individuals, as a community, as a team? Because we know it's going to show up. No one's going to enjoy it, but man, if we can make it our friend and make it useful for us and along our mission and our purpose, I think that's what life's all about. So yeah, I'm sure this season coming up, there's going to be adversity. I don't know what it is yet, but we're preparing for it. like we're working in the weight room, we're working on the practice field, like all that's coming for whatever this team has to overcome and become closer together because of the adversity, not separate because of it.
Right.
So what's like the first thing you do when adversity hits? Do you have like a set, like, okay, let me ask myself these questions? Or I'm asking that because people, to your point, approach adversity different. Some people, they just completely like sink and they're like, why me? And it gets into like a whole kind of like spiral. Some people go through it and then they pull themselves up. And some people, they don't really spiral that bad. They're like, man, this is really hard. but this is what I'm going to do to keep moving forward and keep my mental health wellness. And I need to pour a little extra time into this. And, they kind of developed a game plan. They've really gotten to know themselves, so they know how to handle when adversity hits. So what for you, if you could drop some gems for us, because I know you got a ton. I've heard you speak before and I've read most of the book. What do you do, and what would you advise somebody to do if they're really going through it right now and they're like, man, I just feel weight, like I just feel all this weight out and I don't know what to do.
Missy, I'm a little bit of a sicko when it comes to adversity. Like, I broke my thumb on a Christmas game, and I break my thumb. You have a bunch of family in town. It's all bummed. Like, all the Christmas celebration goes out the window, right? And the next day I show up and I get surgery on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, whatever it was. And I couldn't wait to go up to the coach's office the next day and be like, this is my time. Like, things are going bad. Things look bleak. This is my time to prove to you, to prove to myself what my character is all about. Like, we don't we don't hang our hat on when times are easy. When we're throwing for 4,000 yards as a team and if we're running the ball 100 yards a game, we make our hat on how we respond to difficult situations. I know it. I believe it. I'm like, surgery on Monday. Let's get back on the field by Thursday. Let's practice. Let's feel it out. And I'm back on the game next week, Sunday, trying to figure this whole club thing out as a fullback, trying to catch footballs one-handed. So I'm a little bit of a sicko in that mindset. But no, I think anybody that's going through adversity, like, the first thing is just accepting your reality. Like, where are you at? Like, taking a look in the mirror and being honest with yourself. How you're responding to it, it's okay. Like, accept it. The wins and the losses, like, the good things you've done to cope, the bad things you've done to cope, accept it. It's okay. That's your reality. And now, how are you going to respond to it? Like, take that first step. Find a first win, whether it's making your bed, whether it's eating a good breakfast, whether it's having your cup of coffee, whatever that first win is for your day, man, that gets you going. So I think, first off, be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror. How are you going to respond? Accept it. And now let's find one win to get the positive momentum rolling. And that's how you start. Like, first thing to get out of a hole, stop digging. And then let's start climbing right after that.
I love that, because we're so, as humans, as you know, conditioned naturally to focus on the negative, right? To have that negativity bias. And so to look for the wins or look for the blessings, however you want to word it, I think is so important, because it's so easy and it's so tempting to just look at the negative or the answers that you don't have and the things you don't have and the problems you're still facing, versus just saying, but wait, this is a win, like, and I'm going to be like thankful for this win, and I'm going to focus on this win instead of going down the spiral of focusing on the negativity, right? So I love that you shared that.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I mean, your subconscious thoughts are like 99% of your thoughts, right? So if a majority of those subconscious thoughts are negative, man, that's kind of how we're thinking, and it's natural, right? That's human nature, just like you said. But if you can intentionally, like, deliberately choose to find that win, man, all those negative thoughts, you start fighting them one at a time. Any negative thought that you catch, man, let's get over it. Let's find an intentional win.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, because I think a lot of us, I think it's easy to say adversity is opportunity. Like, it almost feels cliche sometimes, to be honest. You feel that way because it's like I think a lot of people say this, but then I don't know that everybody necessarily understands how to do that.
100%. And there's different seasons that you go through in life, and through a day and through a decade, right? And there's seasons to just survive. Like, there's seasons to thrive. Like, when things are going good, pedal to the metal. Let's maximize this opportunity. Let's squeeze all the juice we got out of it. Like, let's be at our best, right? But when things are going bad, when adversity's hitting you, it's like being realistic, or not realistic, but being like, man, I can prove something by surviving this, by keep showing up, by being consistent, by having my habits and routines set in place, by showing up, being accountable. Like, those are wins. And in a season of just needing to survive because life is throwing everything at you, man, how much more prepared are you going to be when life opens up for you, when that door opens and that opportunity of a lifetime is right there, and you can sprint through it because you've been showing up, preparing. You don't know what for, but as soon as that opportunity hits, it's like, okay, that's what that was for. Let me go run through this thing. So yeah, I think easier said than done, for sure. A lot of coach talk here, but no, at the end of the day, if you're surviving and you're ready and you're preparing for that thriving season, man, that's that's a sweet, sweet victory and a sweet story to
Alec,
tell.
I'm listening to you and I'm saying to myself, man, this guy's going to be a coach one day. Is that in the future for Mr. Ingold?
I would love that, man. I love connecting with other people, and it's fun to see. Like, I was out maybe 2, 3 games this last year, and being able to teach other guys around me how to play this F position the way I do it, or the way that they need to do it, and the challenge of like connecting my thoughts to my words and making sure that they're understanding it. Like, it's like a puzzle that I'm just addicted to, man. I love it. So hopefully I'm on the field all 17 games this year, so I don't need a coach.
Yeah.
But maybe a handful of years down the road.
Did you know that Tyreek coached a high school receivers? He coached in high school during the NFL season when he was the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really? I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, he was a high school coach. He was a coach for receivers. He would, after practice, go do practice at the high school. And then on Friday nights, he would go into the game and going into the box above and coach the receivers from up there. And these kids were just having the best time of their lives having Tyreek Hill as their coach while he was in Kansas City. Not many people
That's
know
so
that
cool.
story. Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, he wanted to coach. He wanted to get some experience as a coach because he wants to coach his sons whenever the day comes that he retires. We set him up to get a job as a high school coach in Kansas City. He did it throughout the year. It was incredible.
That's the do, man. And think about that. Like, the amount of like, to be able to teach or to be able to educate is so much different than being able to understand yourself. Right. So I'm
Right.
sure he starts to learn the ins and outs of the game of like
He
what this
did
jab
say
step is, what his release
100%.
is.
He said, I understand. After that season, Robert, I started understanding my position even more. Just teaching helped him get better personally in football.
It's uncomfortable. That's where growth happens, man. That's
Yes.
real.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it just
If you really want to know something, teach it.
Yeah, right.
100%, 100%. So we got to ask you about. You can't have a Dolphin on and not ask about in Miami and not ask about the upcoming season. Tell us what your thoughts are, the goals for this season. It's Dolphin fans are diehard fans. I'm sure every city says that, but for the fans, man, what are your thoughts on this 2025 season and your hopes and goals?
Yeah, I think the most excited I am for this season is the community, the fans, everybody to see the team that we're becoming. Like,
Right.
the team. We've had talent, we've had rosters, and it's like the challenge this offseason was building a team with an identity, with something we can all attach ourselves to become bigger than just the sum of all of our parts. So that's what I'm most excited for, is to see the team, because teams win in December. Teams win in January, right? Like, rosters don't win down the stretch. And I
Right.
think that's the challenge that we have as a team, to continue to grow from training camp to the preseason all the way throughout. But that's what I'm most excited for. That's what I'm diving into, is like mastering my domain as a fullback, is the best fullback I can be in the world, and making sure that this team is so cohesive. We're seeing things the same way. We're speaking the same language, so that whatever adversity happens, regardless, I don't care if it's, whatever has happened in the past. You talk about, a tough loss or injuries or a short week or international travel, whatever, like the team coming together and overcoming that. I think that's what's going to be fun to watch, and for fans to kind of ride along on the journey with us.
That's interesting. What do you think? And that's, again, you sound like a coach, but what do you think about? Yeah, he's great, man. This guy's got to win in December. I've heard that 100 times. Got to win in January. Like,
You
this
got to
guy-
go on that run at the right time, man. Got to hit it in stride.
100%. What do you think about the fullback position kind of like disappearing in football, man? You're like, a dinosaur. There's not many fullbacks on teams, So what do you think about that your position, right? And you're one of the best at it, right? And because of how great you are, you're a very valuable piece to the team, but a lot of teams don't value the fullback position. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think all philosophies, it's like, okay, the Miami philosophy is like put as much speed on the field as possible. What's a fullback doing out there, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's like it's tough to defend that, but I do think that fullbacks are able to manipulate defenses a whole heck of a lot. And a number of those defenses are planning to have linebackers running sideline to sideline, covering in Tampa 2, 40 yards down the field for that number 3 wide receiver that's super shifty, a big tight
Right.
end, big body. Like offenses have so many problems that the defenses have to solve for. Not a whole lot of people practice against 21 personnel, 2-back offense. It's a little bit different of a look. So I think being able to have all those concepts as a fullback and be able to manipulate defenses different than what they're used to seeing on a week-to-week basis gives an advantage to any offense, the 5 to 10 that use them regularly. So there's some young guys coming up. I think Hunter Lubke's one of them.
Yeah.
Carson Steele with the Chiefs is another one. So there's going to be a new generation of fullbacks coming through as Juice, Patrick Ricard, CJ Ham, myself, like are getting a little bit older. There's this new generation of guys that are tight ends. Connor Hayward from, the Steelers just moved. So you see like 300-pound fullbacks, you see 195-pound fullbacks, and it's like so much variation across the league that, man, if you fit in that scheme and you can make a living out of it for sure. So
Right.
it's all about manipulating defense, causing problems for them.
Well, we're excited, man, and I had to ask the football question, but just to get back to our mental health, talk, what are some of the things that for you that transition when you were young, right? And you were going through your process through the system. What were some of the things that you remember dealing with, and how did you deal with that mentally?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was I tried to be perfect. Like if I wasn't successful or perfect, I was a failure. Like I wouldn't be loved, I wouldn't be accepted, I wouldn't be appreciated. So
Wow.
when my parents
That's deep.
it's deep, man, but when they were able to tell me, man, we just want you to do your best. Like if your best is an A+ in this class, man, let's see it. If your best is a C, like let's see it. And I always felt like I needed to be perfect in order to be accepted or loved. And
Right.
that was a huge thing that I still overcome every single day. Like I'm a recovering perfectionist, but that's how it kind of manifested. And thankfully, I had a tight support system. I had a tight family that was able to walk through that with me. I probably had to learn that lesson a million times over again, but I'll probably have to learn it a million times more in order to truly kind of give myself that grace. But man, it helps me be a great football player, great husband, great son, great follower.
Yeah.
So what serves you can kind of also be your downfall. And I'm still trying to find that balance. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm at peace with kind of dealing with being a perfectionist and trying to be perfect every single play, every single day when I come home from work. My driving record has to be perfect. My credit score has to be perfect, right? Like that, it's just a high achiever in me, but also giving yourself some grace to just be you. That was my journey growing up, and the biggest struggle I had that I still deal with on an everyday basis.
Right. I look at that as trauma. I look
Mhm.
at that as that's what trauma looks like. From my eyes, my perception, when I look at Alec Ingold and when I think about your journey and through the foster system and you wanting to be perfect, to be accepted, to me, that helped you in football, and that's how you've used that trauma to help you. But regardless, it is trauma, and
Mhm.
you just have to find the tools to help you get through that. Because sometimes, and listen, that's the perfect characteristic to be a football coach as well as a football player, as we are talking about being a
Robert
football
really
coach.
wants you to be a football coach.
Yeah, but really, it's not as like when you think about being a father. That's not necessarily the best characteristic to have. That you have to be perfect because you're going to pass that on to your kids, and then your kids are going to pass it, and then and it manifests itself and comes out different ways in different people.
That's generational trauma. And I
Yeah.
think we all have, this book was kind of one of my first steps in like a very good coping mechanism for that, right? Journaling, prayer, meditation, very good coping mechanism, but it wasn't acceptance. I didn't
Right.
accept that trauma. I didn't accept my past. So once you go through that process of truly accepting it, finding those mentors, owning whatever your past is. I feel like that's kind of that first step into self-acceptance and in being your true self, so that hopefully, that generational trauma stops with you, and you're able to be the best person you can be. Not perfect, just your best.
Right. Is this an ongoing journey for you, Alec, in your head? Or are you making strides? Do you feel like you're making good strides, or and you're on the recovery side, or do you feel in your head, just from having this perfection deal going, do you feel like you still got a long way to go?
Yeah, it's a great question. I went through a 13-week course this offseason on leadership transformation. And it felt like group therapy, honestly. But it was really about figuring out, are you a driven human being? Are you motivated? Are you goal oriented? All that stuff. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And it's like, okay,
Right.
where is that deliberate middle ground where you're setting things up and you're moving in a way where you're efficient, you're effective, instead of this huge, like, man, I need to conquer the world. How are you laser focused on one thing and giving your best effort at that intentionally and deliberately every single day? Took me 13 weeks to kind of figure this whole thing out. And it's going to be a lifelong journey, man. It's never going to stop. And I'm okay with that. But I do think figuring out that way to become more present, more in the moment every single day allows for me to not have this driven, anxiety ridden, I need to be the best, or I need to, be the best in the world, or comparing myself to others. And it's just like, let's bring everything into here in this present moment. And I think that's where all the results are going to speak for themselves. So that's what I'm most excited for this next season, is y'all see an intentional, deliberate version of myself rather than this perfectionist version.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that. How do you quiet that perfectionist though? Because as you mentioned, or was mentioned earlier, perfectionism is impossible, right? So like when a loss happens or there is adversity, or maybe you didn't do your best that you intended to do, right? Like when that happens, how do you quiet that perfectionist voice, and that voice that says to you, this is because you're not good enough or whatever? I don't know what thoughts come up for you, but let's just say, if something like that happens, how do you quiet that noise?
That's a great question. I think in the moment, finding those resets are huge. So we talked about framing our day. Like, yeah, you can carve out 15 minutes or whatever to do that. In a game, you might get 5 seconds.
Mhm.
And it's like, what is that reset button for you to get present, to get in that moment? I clap my hands quite a bit. And that's just like a verbal, like an audio, physical kind of thing where it's like, all right, we're back to present. We're back to this moment. We're back to the next play. We can figure everything else out later.
Right.
So it's like finding those times of where does it make sense to reflect, and where is it just like, be where your feet are at and be great right here. Being great is different than being perfect. So, yeah, I've never had a perfect grade sheet. You talk to any NFL football player ever, you have minuses every single game, but it's like, how do you respond to that? And for me, it's reset buttons. Find reset buttons on the practice field, in the film room, on the playing field.
And how do you stop yourself when you feel like you might be starting to be too hard on yourself or beat yourself up? Like, how do you say, okay, time out. Let me redirect myself.
Mm.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
again,
you don't. Or maybe you don't.
Or maybe you don't. Yeah.
No, I think again, it kind of comes down to the context of the situation. Like, am I being too hard on myself when I'm making dinner? Like, okay, I can have time, right? Like, I messed up, too much garlic salt on the steak, whatever it is, right? Like, all
Yeah.
right, we'll fix that later. But when it comes to high pressure moments when you need to perform, I think that does serve you a little bit to be like, let's just be in the moment, hit that flush, hit that reset button, and get right back to it. So again, I think there's different tools for different areas in your life, and wherever you're at. If it's high pressure, high stakes, I'm not taking a timeout. Like let's get through it. Let's trust our preparation. Let's trust the game plan. Trust yourself, so you can trust your teammates.
Yeah. And then that's part of that reset. That's amazing, because I know a lot of people listening could benefit from hearing that. That's why I'm sort of, I think we're pressing you on these questions a little bit, because I think people could identify with being a perfectionist. They can identify with the loss. They can identify with, okay, maybe I'm the questioning of, I'm not good enough. So how do I create that reset habit? And so I really appreciate everything that you just shared. I know that's going to help a lot of people.
I love
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the athletes that I work with in that space. Like any intrusive thought that you have, it's like, some people it works better to, flip it. So like, I'm not good enough, or you feel that, you hear that self-talk, and it's like immediately what's the opposite? And it's like sometimes it feels like a ping pong game where you're constantly like back and forth, and that doesn't help people. So then it's nonverbal reset buttons. So yeah, however it works best for you internally with that self-talk. I feel like trying it out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But those are a couple tools that I like to use.
Yeah, I've heard of people snapping wristbands, or they do like you're saying, like it might be an affirmation or it might be an action, like you're
Mm.
saying. I think that's a lot of that's really good for people again that are listening to hear. Like there's different tools and different things that you can do you just have to find what you connect with that helps you be like, oh yeah, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. So so this is I've been talking for almost an hour now, I think. So this
Man.
is like just flying by. I have a million questions that I want to keep asking you, but I want to be respectful for your time. I know we're filming this at a time when you were getting ready for camp. So I'm sure
Getting
you're
ready for camp.
all the rest time that you can get.
Getting
So
ready to roll.
getting
Yeah.
ready to roll. So I just quickly, how can people find out more about you or the foundation? Like how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on socials. So, Instagram, LinkedIn are two solid ones for me. AlecIngold.com. We have the foundation up there. We have any mindset stuff up there and resources for you to go check out, as well as my story and my family story. So, AlecIngold.com. Hopefully that's easy to remember. And then obviously socials. Follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm pretty active in both of those platforms.
That's awesome. All right. So everybody knows that. Again, the book is The 7 Crucibles. Definitely recommend checking that out. And all right. So the last question that we always like to ask before we wrap up, Alec, and maybe you've kind of mentioned this because we've talked about a lot of strategies throughout the coach conversation here. A
Mhm.
lot of strategies were discussed today. But we usually like to ask our guests, when you feel like kind of maybe you not just facing adversity, but maybe you're kind of feeling a little stuck, or you're going things kind of feel like a little tough for you at that time. What are your top 3 tools that you use? So some people might mention self-care, some people have mentioned talking to a spouse. So just anything along those lines, what are like the top 3 things that you do when you're like, okay, like I need a little extra bigger of a reset than just clap my hands?
I love it. Yeah, finding something you enjoy. Like for me, like I love, quick 9 holes of golf when my shoulders aren't
Oh,
hurting in the middle of the season. Very therapeutic for me. Maybe you
wow.
don't have an hour and a half, so maybe it's hit the range, right? Like that's something that I love to do. Maybe it's a cup of coffee. Maybe I go to Circle House Coffee and I get that oat
Yeah.
espresso deal, and like that's my little
Circle
treat.
House.
Not the
Circle House,
same.
Stephen Tulloch, shout out.
Yes.
Um,
You sound like I love it, Alec.
that's finding your little things that you can control, right? Because there's so many things outside of our control. What are 3 things that you can control that you can say, I'm the master of this domain. I'm diving in. I'm controlling this situation. This is something I love to do, and I'm shamelessly in love with it. Like, do that, right? So I try and figure that out. Those are a couple of my things that I love to do. But going back to controlling what you can control and sacrificing what you can't, I think that gives a lot of peace in your life and a lot of peace in your day.
I love
That's a
that.
great,
Sounds
great
like
answer.
yeah, I love it because it's like I'm not just gonna let anything get the best of me. I'm gonna control the controllables here, and this is how I'm gonna choose to tackle this
Yeah.
individual.
When I talk to kids, all I talk about, a part of my speech is controlling the controllable. And if it's something you can't control, let it go.
Mm.
Let it go. And that's it. That's all you can do in your life. And to hear you say it, we're on the same plane, man. It was wonderful having you on.
I appreciate the time, y'all. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as a quick reminder to everyone watching or listening, if you are in a mental health crisis, please dial 988. It is that free crisis prevention line that is available to you. It is totally confidential. Put that number into your phone, share it with your family and friends. If you are in an absolute emergency, please dial 911. And of course, please check out the Kennedy Kids Foundation website, where you can click on the resources tab and get a whole other host of resources that are available to you to help you with mental health. And you can also support our cause. Check out the events tab, see what we got going on here in and around South Florida.
and donate to the cause. And of course, always like, subscribe, and review. Those are free ways to help support our cause and help us further our mission of advocating for mental health and wellness, particularly for teens. So, Alec, thank you again for taking the
Thanks,
time.
Alec.
Absolutely blessed. It was a pleasure.
Alex, I'm gonna send you a life hack.
I made it through the tough time.